Brexit, the United Kingdom's departure from the European Union, has had far-reaching implications across various sectors, including aviation. Among the industries most affected is the cargo airline sector, which has had to navigate new challenges due to the regulatory and economic changes brought about by Brexit. One notable consequence has been the necessity for some British cargo airlines to maintain their Boeing 747s in the United States rather than in the UK or Europe. The shift highlights the broader impact of Brexit on British industries, particularly in terms of operational costs, regulatory compliance, and the global competitiveness of UK-based businesses. And in this video, I will explore the reasons behind this shift in aircraft maintenance, the challenges it presents, and the wider consequences of Brexit on the British aviation and logistics sector. Before Brexit, British cargo airlines enjoyed seamless access to maintenance facilities across Europe, taking advantage of the EU's integrated aviation market. This arrangement allowed for cost-effective, efficient and high-quality maintenance services within close proximity to the UK. However, with Brexit, the regulatory landscape has changed dramatically, creating new barriers that have forced some airlines to relocate their maintenance operations. One of the primary reasons for this shift is the loss of automatic recognition of EU-based maintenance certifications by UK authorities and vice versa. Prior to Brexit, a maintenance, repair and overhaul, a so-called MRO facility in the EU, could easily service UK-registered aircraft, with certifications and standards mutually recognized across the EU. Post-Brexit, however, the UK is no longer part of the European Aviation Safety Agency, the EASA, the body responsible for regulating and certifying aviation safety standards across the EU. As a result, UK airlines can no longer rely on EASA-approved MRO facilities without additional regulatory hurdles. This lack of mutual recognition has made it more difficult and costly for British cargo airlines to maintain their aircraft in Europe. They must now either seek dual certification, which can be a time-consuming and expensive process, or look for alternatives outside Europe. For many, the most viable option has been to shift maintenance operations to the United States, where regulatory processes and certification systems are more straightforward for third-country operators. Additionally, the US has a well-established network of MRO facilities with extensive experience in servicing Boeing aircraft, including the Boeing 747, which remains a workhorse for many cargo airlines. The combination of regulatory challenges in Europe and the expertise available in the US has led British cargo airlines to increasingly rely on American facilities for their maintenance needs. While relocating maintenance operations to the US offers some advantages, it also presents significant challenges for British cargo airlines. One of the most immediate concerns is the increased cost associated with transatlantic operations. Transporting aircraft to the US for maintenance incurs additional fuel, but also labor and logistical expenses, which can significantly raise operational costs. Moreover, the time required to ferry aircraft to and from the US for maintenance can lead to longer downtimes, reducing the availability of aircraft for revenue-generating operations. In the highly competitive cargo airline industry, where timely delivery is crucial, these delays can impact the profitability and efficiency of British Airlines. The need to plan around these extended maintenance periods adds complexity to fleet management and scheduling. And there are also potential risks related to the distance between the airline's primary operations in the UK and the maintenance facilities in the United States. Any issues that arise during maintenance require longer communication chains and can be more challenging to resolve promptly, particularly when dealing with urgent or unexpected repairs. This geographical separation can also complicate quality control and oversight, as airline personnel may not be able to easily monitor the maintenance work being performed. The challenges faced by British Cargo Airlines in maintaining their Boeing 747s in the US are just one example of the broader impact of Brexit on the UK's aviation and logistics sector. Beyond the specific issue of aircraft maintenance, Brexit has introduced a range of other challenges that have affected the competitiveness and operational efficiency of British airlines and logistical companies. One of the most immediate and visible consequences of Brexit has been the reintroduction of customs checks and regulatory barriers between the UK and the EU. For the aviation and logistics sector, this has meant more paperwork, longer processing times, and increased costs associated with cross-border trade. British airlines and logistics companies now face additional regulatory compliance requirements when operating in the EU, including customs declarations, security checks, and compliance with differing standards. For cargo airlines, which often operate tight schedules, these delays can be particularly problematic. The increased complexity of cross-border operations can lead to missed delivery deadlines, but also higher operational costs and a reduction in the overall efficiency of logistics networks. The need to navigate these new barriers has also created additional administrative burdens, requiring companies to invest in new systems and processes to manage the increased complexity. Brexit has also resulted in the loss of automatic access to the EU single market, which has had significant implications for British airlines and logistics companies. Before Brexit, UK-based companies could operate freely across the EU, benefiting from the ability to offer services to customers across the continent without the need for additional licenses or approvals. However, with the UK no longer part of the EU, British companies must now negotiate bilateral agreements with the individual EU countries to maintain their market access. I don't mean it with a trade deal, but it's complicated stuff in the bureaucracy. The loss of the automatic access has made it more difficult for British airlines to compete in the European market, and they must now contend with a more fragmented regulatory environment where different countries may have different rules and requirements. And this has increased the cost of doing business in the EU and reduced the competitiveness of British companies compared to their EU-based counterparts. Another significant impact of Brexit has been the introduction of new immigration rules, which have made it more difficult for British companies to hire workers from the EU. The aviation and logistics sectors, which have historically relied on a large number of EU workers, have been particularly hard hit by these changes. The end of free movement has made it more difficult for British companies to recruit the skilled labor they need, leading to labor shortages in key areas such as aviation maintenance, cargo handling, and logistics management. And these labor shortages have had a direct impact on the efficiency and capacity of British airlines and logistics companies. With fewer workers available, companies have struggled to maintain their operations at what people call pre-Brexit levels, leading to delays, increased costs, and reduced service quality. And the shortage of skilled workers has also driven up wages, further increasing the cost of operations for British companies. Brexit has also disrupted the complex supply chains that underpin the aviation and logistics sectors. With the UK no longer part of the EU, British companies have had to navigate new customs procedures, tariffs, and regulatory requirements, which have added complexity and cost to their supply chains. The need to source parts and materials from outside the EU has introduced additional logistical challenges, including longer lead times, increased inventory costs, and the need for greater flexibility in supply chain management. These disruptions have been particularly challenging for companies that rely on just-in-time delivery models, where even minor delays can have a significant impact on operations. The added complexity of post-Brexit supply chains has forced companies to rethink their strategies, including the need to diversify their suppliers, build larger inventories, and invest in new technologies to manage the increased complexity. And finally, Brexit has had a dampening effect on investment and innovation in the UK's aviation and logistics sectors. The uncertainty surrounding Brexit, coupled with the increased cost and complexity of doing business in the UK, has made the country a less attractive destination for investment. This has been reflected in a reduction in foreign direct investment in the UK, as well as a slowdown in the growth of new businesses and innovation in this sector. And the loss of EU funding and collaboration opportunities has also impacted the UK's ability to invest in research and development in areas such as aviation technology, logistics efficiency, and sustainability. And this has put British companies at a disadvantage compared to their EU counterparts, who continue to benefit from access to EU funding, research networks, and collaboration opportunities. And Brexit has had profound and far-reaching consequences for the UK's aviation and logistics sectors, with British Cargo Airlines' decision to maintain their Boeing 747s in the USA serving as a striking example of the challenges posed by the new regulatory and economic landscape. The shift to US-based maintenance highlights the increased costs, complexity, and operational challenges that British companies face in the post-Brexit environment. And these challenges are not limited to the aviation sector, but extend across the broader logistics industry, where new customs barriers, regulatory hurdles, labor shortages, supply chain disruptions, and reduced investment have all taken their toll. As the UK continues to navigate its post-Brexit future, the government and industry stakeholders will need to work together to address these challenges, finding new ways to enhance the competitiveness of British companies, mitigate the impact of regulatory and economic changes, and secure the UK's position as a global leader in aviation and logistics. Only by addressing these issues can the UK hope to maintain its status as a hub for international trade and transportation in the post-Brexit era. And if you want to know more, the next video is right here in the end screen. I'll see you there. I'll be back.